So 3 weeks from now, to also look at a few things, and then they will come for a review, I guess, in August or so. So you see, technically, the negotiations have not, finalized.
But this is the implementation phase that is dependent on you meeting
your compliance.
Yes.
So I'm saying to you that science.
Yes.
So I'm saying to you that the door is not firmly closed yet. You would expect them to be coming around, which means that there are outstanding issues that you have to be relating to. But as I said last week, sometimes when issues emerge and a lot of water passes under the bridge, perhaps it may be good to allow sleeping dogs to lie. But it's not a decision that I can take on my own. Maybe we have to have a meeting because, as I said, even though this whole thing emanated from a group within, and our things are shaping up, is it the case that we still should go on holding his feet to fire? Or is it the case that, as I said, sleeping dogs should be allowed to lie? It is a decision that will come from the caucus. Thereafter, we may then have to meet with the president.
So far, has any of the members on your side who were campaigning for this, have they reached out to ask you, nudge you and say, listen, we're told the deal is over now, should we act? Has anybody reached out yet?
Well, I would say one person sent me a post, asking me where we are. I will bring it up again. And my response was just the response that I've given you. And after he's not come back to me. And now is the entire caucus's position. So that's where we are. But I'm saying that we shall possibly meet, to finally put the matter to bed. That is, to go forward or not to go forward. The decision rests with the caucus.
What's your sense? Do you still feel there's that it was very intense
at the time?
At the time,
yes.
Reading the mood since you've been back, do you still feel there's an appetite?
If there's appetite, you will hear it. Perhaps intensity has profoundly subsided. I'm not saying that there are no relics, but intensity has subsided significantly. But we take it from there. And as I'm saying, it's not one man's decision; it's the caucus's decision. So we shall further interrogate, and then we take a common position on that.
And I want to take it to Parliament right now because today the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, was expected to answer some 10 questions which have suffered repeated postponement. My parliamentary correspondent joins us on the telephone line right now. Kweku, just before we get into the questions that the Finance Minister was expected to answer, this issue with Ken Must Go, which was started by the majority MPs themselves. Chairman Sabunsu talks about they have to meet to decide. He talks about water under the bridge and so possibly let sleeping dogs lie. What's the mood among the majority MPs? And he says the appetite is not as intense as it was at the beginning of even this year. What's the mood among the majority MPs? What are you reading?
Well, Evans, like Chairman Sabunsu said, he has spoken with 10 of those NPP MPs held a news conference and in that unprecedented fashion demanded that Ken Ofori-Atta must go. Following that, Ken Ofori-Atta became the subject of the entire majority caucus. When the entire caucus decided that was a position that they held, but the president must dismiss him. And some of these NPP MPs have been telling me now that they are very much looking forward to a meeting where the explanation will be given why Ken Ofori-Atta must still be made to continue, because they believe that the MPP's chance in the 2024 election will hinge a lot on the economy and how it is faring. And although things may seem to be bouncing back, they cannot give Ken Ofori-Atta that time from now to 2024 to remain in office. It is for this reason that some of the MPP MPs I've spoken to, numbering about 12, since last week that the majority leader made that proposition, have said that they haven't dropped their demands at all, and that if by a certain time they do not hear from the majority that there's no meeting, then they'll be forced to come out and either issue a press statement or do another press conference. So we are looking forward to that if government does not negotiate or engage with the majority MPs to firm up any decision on this, Evan.
And Kweku Kenoforiata was expected before Parliament today. There are 10 questions he needed to field. Did he show up?
He did not. This is about the fifth or even sixth time that these questions that have been scheduled to be answered by the finance minister would have to be postponed again. During the very previous meetings that these questions were expected to be answered, the minister did not show up. Letters were sent that the minister was busy with negotiations with the IMF, among others. But this time around, no response or no letter has been submitted to the speaker. The speaker did not read any section on the floor. And so these 10 questions will now have to be rescheduled again by Parliament for the finance minister to come and answer. Indeed, because the House was expecting the minister to come in and he did not, they had to alter the business a little in the morning. They had to go in for a closed sitting to consider the Get Fund allocation formula, which report is now being taken on the floor. After that, they expected that the minister will come. He did not, and so they proceeded to do other business having to do with some bills that the Attorney General has brought. They've dealt with all that. They've gone back to the Get Fund allocation formula. The finance minister has still not showed, and there's been no communication, at least publicly, as to why Ken Ofori-Atta has not showed up to answer these 10 questions, which have suffered so many repetitions and adjournments.
And Kweku, there's also a fresh push to get Ken Ofori-Atta to come to the House and brief the entire House about the IMF deal. And recall, the deal was concluded and approved by the IMF Executive Board when the House was on recess. Is this gathering momentum in the House?
It is, Evans. On the last two occasions since Parliament came, that Osei Mensa Bonsu and the majority leadership have had to present the business statement. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa in particular has had cause to invite the finance minister to come and brief the House. Indeed, it is the contention of some of the majority MPs that this may even be an international agreement that ordinarily must come before Parliament for approval. But it appears that has not been stretched so much. But Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa in particular has been asking for that, for the finance minister to come to brief MPs on the intricacies and the details of the finance agreement that has been reached with the IMF. And Osei Mensa Bonsu has been providing some general update on that.
I think, as you rightly notice or observe, the conclusion of the executive committee negotiations really happened when we were on recess, which is why last week a colleague of ours, in fact, indicated that it would be appropriate, perhaps, for the minister to come to Parliament to brief us about where we are.
So you agree with that, the minister coming to brief you?
Well, generally, I think that if Parliament, we have a function of financial control and also oversight. And if we have concluded, we need to know. The nation needs to know. So we speak to the nation through Parliament. But the issue is, he is coming with a media review in July. Would it not be better if we stood it down so that when he comes with a media review, he could brief us and also then submit the media review? Other people are also saying that we should
separate
decouple the two. So we have to have some engagement with the minister. I had indicated to the House that I was going to have a discussion with the minister on that before Thursday, so that if it was going to be possible, perhaps we could have him tomorrow or Thursday. Unfortunately, I've not been able to have the discussion with him because over the weekend I was not in good shape. I only came out yesterday quite strong. So I want to see if it's possible to have that engagement with him between this evening and tomorrow, so that when we meet on Friday, I'll be able to tell them something significant.
What's your preference?
If we agree, if he does agree that he's able to make time, as we speak now, he's meeting with the World Bank. We don't want to do anything that will derail whatever they've come to do.
I want to bring in Member of Parliament for Booster South, Dr. Clement Park. He's one of the MPs who asked the question and was expecting the finance minister to appear before the House today to answer that question. He joins us on the telephone line right now. Dr. Park, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Yeah, good evening, Evans. Good evening to listeners as well.
What's your question today?
Well, my question to Ken Ofori-Atta had to do with seeking clarification with regards to the cost of free senior high school in the last 5 years, which will be 2017 to 2021. And I asked that question because I had previously asked a question whereupon he came to answer and indicated that 7.62 billion had been used to implement the program. Later on, he reported to Parliament through the media budget review of 2022 that 5.3 billion had been used to finance the program in 5 years. So my question essentially is to ask him what accounts for the disparity in terms of the figures he reported earlier on and the figures he indicated in the 2022 media budget review.
Yeah, he was unable to do so today, provide that answer today. And yesterday we got some clarity from Chairman Sabungsu that he's been pretty busy. He's been having meetings with the World Bank. Have you been told today why he was unable to come to Parliament and answer the questions?
No, we have not been told why. And quite honestly, Evans, this is not the first time I am going to say this, and I'll say it again. Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, has shown gross disrespect for Parliament, and in particular, when it comes to questions filed by members of Parliament. I can tell you on authority that of all the ministers appointed by the Akufo-Addo government from 2017 till date, if we were to look at the records about their appearance in Parliament to respond to questions by members of Parliament, I can tell you that Ken Ofori-Atta's record is very abysmal. It is not just his refusal or his lack of interest or his lack of attention to questions filed by members of Parliament, but this man has never even appeared before the Public Accounts Committee ever since I became a member in 2017.
But isn't that understandable, Dr. Park? I mean, we are in economic crisis. The man is trying to save this entire economy from utter total collapse. Isn't that why he'll be unable to honor these invitations? He's been there a few times, has he not?
Evans.
Yes.
The problem is that even before this economic crisis, even at a time when he wasn't purportedly busy, he was not showing up. So the point I'm making is that he has the unenviable record of simply not giving parliamentary questions the needed attention and response as is expected of every minister. So we cannot make excuses for him. It was happening before this time, and clearly it is continuing.
What do you plan to do about this? Today he was unable to come. I mean, at least yesterday, and we played that interview with Chairman Sabungsu, who was talking about the challenge with all the meetings he's having currently. You know, the IMF may be in town, the World Bank as well. That's why. You haven't had any explanation today. What do you plan to do about this?
That is what is offensive. Because, I mean, the majority side has always made excuses for him. The same Chairman Sabungsu, even in the days when he wasn't showing up, where we had cause to complain, and if you would check your own records, our former minority chief rep, Muntaka, and the rest of us severally complained because he wasn't showing up to respond to questions, and we were not getting any written explanations. The leadership of the majority tended to make excuses for him. And now I am not surprised that Chairman Sabungsu is again trying to make an excuse for why Ken Ofori-Atta didn't show up. But at the very minimum, they should have put in a written explanation. A letter should have come to the Speaker, who then should have read it to us, justifying and giving us the real reasons why Ken Ofori-Atta was not able to appear before the August House of Parliament to respond to questions. So as far as we are concerned, it is not because he is cooped in some corner dealing with economic matters, because we have not been told so. So the only conclusion we can draw is that he's still up to his own despicable habit of not showing up to answer our questions.
When do you now hope he will come and answer the questions? And what's the minority's move next now? On the
Well, we can only advocate and call on the leadership of Parliament to make sure that he comes. You know, if we had our way, he wouldn't even be the finance minister for this and many other reasons. It is the majority that protected him when he had the unique opportunity to join us so that we could get rid of him. But they chose to protect him. And since they are the majority, by parliamentary processes and procedure, they are the ones that will decide what happens and what doesn't happen. We can protest and raise all the issues, but we are challenged in our ability to hold his feet to the fire.
Dr. Clement Park, thank you very much. And talking about the earlier pronouncements by Chairman Sabonsu, the majority leader, regarding the decision whether or not to get Ken Ofori-Atta removed from the majority caucus. Remember, they had started this Ken Must Go campaign, held press conferences, and eventually met the president to discuss this. And the president had assured them that he will act on their request after the conclusion of the IMF negotiations. Now, Chairman Sabonsu yesterday explained that yes, that was the pronouncement, that was the commitment, but technically the IMF program and the negotiations are not complete. And so you cannot argue that the trigger is now in motion to remove him. Listen to his explanation.
Yes, we had that engagement with the president, and I agree with you what the outcome was. But and then it was predicated on our concluding the negotiations with the IMF. But you see, technically, we're not even out of the woods yet, because I just told you that the World Bank is here now. I think the IMF will be coming, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, to also look at a few things. And then...
So technically, the negotiations and our relationship with the IMF is not complete, and so possibly it is a reason why they possibly will not revisit the conversation about removing Ken Ofori-Atta. But is that really how you judge it? At what point do you say that your program has been approved, and at what point do you say that it is still in motion? Let's bring in Professor of Economics, Professor Godfrey Bockwing, who had listened into this and joins us now. Prof, thanks very much for your time here on Top Story. You listened to Chairman Sabonsu and how he rationalized the timing when it comes to negotiations with the IMF, and knowing what the trigger should have been, at least from the meeting with the president, that it should have been post the IMF program. What's your own interpretation of what he had said there and the explanations he's given about the technicality of whether or not we are still in conversation with the IMF? We'll get his attention quickly on this. And as you know, Parliament today has been waiting to hear from the Finance Minister. And we've heard from Chairman Sabonsu also. A conversation is already underway to get the Finance Minister to brief the House on the IMF program itself, because that deal was completed whilst the House was on recess. And so the conversation has started. Last week, there was a push to get the Finance Minister into the House to do the briefing. There's also a conversation around whether to wait till the mid-year budget review. Then he would include in that review a briefing to the House on that IMF program. And that's something that is still being discussed, as the majority leader had indicated. And because of the finance minister's own busy schedule, as still negotiations and talks are still ongoing currently, he says, with the World Bank in particular, they haven't managed to finalize and agreed a time for the finance minister to come in. This is Top Story.
Brother Bernard.
Yes.
Onya, this morning I'm very hungry. Please, let's go and buy gobe. This time, I want her to add small salad, really, small talia, and soft cocoa, specially made for me. Pay, you know how I like to customize my food.
Hey, because of what? You think say you buy Vodafone made for me bundle offers? Star 530 hash is the code to get the best value offers made just for you for as low as 1 Ghana cedi.
Hey, Brother Bernard, so you've been hiding Vodafone made for me bundles from me?
Oh, just dial star 530 hash. Feel special with the Vodafone made for me bundle offers. Get unbeatable best value offers from voice, data, or voice plus data bundles made just for you. Dial star 530 hash to subscribe to Vodafone made for me bundle offers or download my Vodafone app today.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell Pack and I won't let go.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Papacho, Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We're also on myjoyonline.com Facebook. And tonight, Gender Minister strongly condemns what it describes as cruel, brutal and barbaric acts meted out to the woman who was stripped naked and beaten by some residents of the Upper East region. We'll hear from the minister as it emerges 4 other girls were raped.
They molested her. The 4 others with her were dragged into the bush, and according to her, they were raped. She claimed that one of the girls was raped by 5 young men, and this particular girl has also been found.
We'll get to hear from the National Council of Fulani Chiefs calling for calm among members of the Fulani community. Also tonight.
The dog is a delicacy, and it's such a huge delicacy in Korea, in China, and it's an exportable product. Let's put all jokes aside, and it's a big delicacy, just like we could have a cat factory in the Volta region.
In this bulletin, we'll tell you how dog meat, palm wine, sanitary pad and baby food all recorded inflation rates above 70%, driving overall inflation up by 42% for the month of May.
We have, for the first time in several months, recorded a very high variation between food and non-food inflation, with food inflation standing at 51.8% for the month of May 2023.
Also tonight, majority MPs on the Mines and Energy Committee says the take-or-pay power purchasing agreement signed by the Eswal Mahama administration is tantamount to causing financial loss to the state.
168 million have been paid for idle capacities, and a further 600 million have been paid for the cost of reserve margins, totaling United States dollars 968 million. This take-or-pay tantamount to causing financial loss to the state.
We have details as chairman of the committee says the contracts are so oppressive and skewed against Ghana and they could be struck out by a court.
In business, you'll be hearing from industries on what needs to be done to ensure that the current stability is sustained.
And in sports, I cannot guarantee a win for the Black Stars against Madagascar. That's head coach Chris Hutton ahead of the penultimate game on Sunday.
Is there a licensing and insurance regime of these tricycles that have invaded our roads? Can they not be restricted to apply only access roads instead of the major roads?
And in less than 48 hours, Pragya tricycle riders face ban from plying the Central Business District of Kumasi and its environs. We'll bring details as the Okada Riders Union calls for a review of the ban to ease the livelihood impact on members.
You can't drive the Adedita from Zongo police station up to Labour, and from Labour you can't ride on the overhead to Edum.
We have that and more in this evening's edition of Newsnight. Please do all to join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. You're watching us live on our social media platform. Please leave your comment with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa Apau.
And my name is Evans Mensah.
Many thanks for your company this evening. Well, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is strongly condemning what it describes as cruel, brutal and barbaric acts meted out to a 26-year-old Fulani woman who was stripped naked, molested and beaten by some residents of Kupelga in the Upper East region.
Well, reports suggest the residents were avenging the killing of a resident by suspected Fulanis. Joy News is learning the woman who fled the community after the incident has revealed 4 other girls were subjected to the same ordeal by the suspects who have since been arrested. One Northeast Regional correspondent, Elias Utanko, says the victim has been describing the agonizing ordeal and says 4 other people with her were dragged into the bush.
She's the mother of one, and she was coming from a market with 4 other girls. She said they had to pass through the bush to get to their community, and so whilst on their way, these people accosted them, and according to her, they molested her. The 4 others with her were dragged into the bush, and according to her, they were raped. And as we speak, she claimed that one of the girls was raped by 5 young men, and this particular girl has also been found as I speak to you. The police, we understand, has given her a police form to go to the hospital for a checkup. So as we speak, that particular girl is also going to check up at the Zebila District Hospital. And we are understanding that what triggered this particular attack is as a result of an accusation by the locals there that the Fulani, according to them, have been raping their women in the bushes and also killing their men. And so it looks like it was an organized attack on Fulani women for the accusation that their men are raping their women. So this is like an attack on the Fulani women just to retaliate.
Tell us about these girls who were with this woman. Where are they now? Do we know their whereabouts and what's happening with them?
Well, when the incident happened, we understand they all were afraid because in the video that you saw, you could hear the woman asking what crime she has committed. And the young men continued to say, your men have been raping our women in the bush, so we are going to kill you. And so we understand because of that, there were a lot of fears. And this particular one in the video, we understand she fled the community, went to Zebila, and then subsequently fled with her family to a community in the Westman Prison Municipality. And so it took the police investigation to locate her in that particular community. The other girls, we understand some of them are still not being located, but one of them, as we understand, have been found.
That's Ilyasu Tanko there. Well, President of the National Council of Fulani Chiefs, Idrisu Mohammed Bingle, is urging members of the Fulani community to remain calm and not retaliate.
Ever since the issue cropped up, we were talking to our people to be patient, and even we advise that video should not be circulated. We have so many platforms on our community, WhatsApp platform. So we'll be advising them not to be sharing. The more they share, the more people will get excited, and then they don't know what happened. So we have done our best to keep, heads cool, So, and that is what we are continuing to do. And that was what we've been doing ever since. You see, if you recall, so many years, anytime you hear attacks on Fulani community where people will be killed, some of them bent, children are killed, cattle are shot dead, and all sort of things. But you never heard that we've also organized to retaliate. It's because we, the leaders, are always on our people trying to calm things down.
Well, there's a statement from the Gender Ministry and Social Protection, and Maxwell Abogba joins us in studio with a copy of it. Let's go through what the ministry is saying.
Well, the ministry says its attention has been drawn to the video and says violence against women and girls is not justified and must not be tolerated, no matter where, how, and who committed the offense. The ministry says the adverse consequences of violence on women and girls in relation to their health, psychological and emotional well-being compromises and undermine their development, and this must not be encouraged. The ministry describes the act as cruel, brutal, and barbaric, and a blatant breach of the victims' rights and dignity.
Thank you very much, Maxwell. And thankfully, the Minister herself of Gender and Social Protection, Lariba Zuwaira-Abudu, thankfully joins us on the line. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight, Madam Lariba. So beyond this statement, which is aptly condemning the act, is there a particular move or action that your ministry is taking or has taken?
Thank you so much for having me on this barbaric issue. When we heard of this, we were not happy. Me in particular, I'm not happy as a woman. This shouldn't be done to any other woman, no matter who you are. Yeah, but actually we're in touch with the police, and then we're also helping the investigations, the information that we have. So I'm happy what the police are doing. They are doing their best, and they will arrest all those involved. I'm very happy of that.
So far, what kind of briefing have you received from the police regarding this? We know 4 persons have been picked up. Are they looking for more? What exactly is the status?
Thank you. Cases like this, you don't have to voice out information. You need to keep it within the police. So for now, let's allow the police to do their work.
We know that you have to leave it for the police, but if they are looking for particular suspects, their community can help in doing that. That's why we are asking if they are looking for more suspects regarding this.
Well, the police will definitely come out with more suspects, because there was a video and faces were shown, and I know the police will definitely get to them.
And have you been in touch with this particular woman now that she's been speaking about the situation and also revealing that 4 other girls were raped in the process, in terms of providing some form of psychological support among others?
We have tasked our social welfare director in Upper East region to get in touch with the woman and then report back to us. So hopefully I'm waiting for her report.
Okay, so your people are yet to get back to you on whether they've been able to reach out to this particular woman.
Yeah, it's not easy getting information like that, because some of them, like you made mention, they are hiding. So, and I know she will definitely get in touch with her.
And how about the other 4 girls that she's been revealing that were raped in the process as well? Are we reaching out to them also?
Oh, sure. If the police is able to ascertain that it really happened, like they asked her to go to a hospital for a report and all that, we'll reach out to them. We need to also solidarize with them what actually happened to them. It's not good for any woman.
Well, but as a legislator, there are concerns that whether you think our laws are deterrent enough to deter people engaged in some of these acts, at least I'm sure you get to understand what exactly will lead people to do these things.
Yeah, the law are deterrent enough. We have to report to police. It's a culture of not reporting. If we report, then police will investigate and the law will take its own course. So we need to report cases like this. You know, so about the laws, they are there to fight for you if you report cases. And I will encourage everybody, no matter what, try to report to the police when it happens.
Well, we'll be in touch on this particular issue. We are grateful for your time. That's the Minister of Gender and Social Protection, Laraba Zuwaira Abudu, there, giving us updates on this particular issue.
And talking about the psychological help for this lady and others in question, today the authorities and officials on the ground there, they've been full of praise for the IGP and some individuals who had come in to assist. The police have so far taken the responsibility not only to provide protection for the lady, but also give her the psychological assistance and support that she requires there. Still on this particular matter, the chairman of the Gender and Children Committee in Parliament, Farouk Aliu Mahama, has condemned the act and says his committee will take action.
I watched it on my way from Yendi to Tamale, and it was a bit disheartening. And as a member of the committee and the chair of the committee, it's something that is unhuman, and I've called the Minister for Gender to make sure that we get involved, to get the minister, to get the parents involved and the corporates, to get a parliamentary committee to even visit the area, the Upper West region, so that we would have a first-hand information. But all in all, I think that it's unacceptable. It's not right for a lady or to go through such barbaric act or treatment. And I think that the committee in Parliament, the Gender Committee, is going to take serious action against it.
Well, so that's Farouk Aliu Mahama, the chairman of the Gender and Social Protection Committee in Parliament. I beg your pardon.
Well, let's talk about another challenge that the society will have to deal with. It's about hate speech, which has now become a subject of some debate and focus by the Media Foundation for West Africa. The Executive Secretary of the National Media Commission, George Sapon, who has been supporting the call for action, has emphasized the need to regulate speech that has a potential of throwing the society into chaos. He stated that perpetrators of hate speech fail to recognize the harm they cause and tend to normalize that speech since it is against other groups. And if you watch and listen to the story around this lady who was abused, it's the part of it is also the disdain that the communities have for each other, and the speech that has been used over time and entrenching these beliefs of hate among each other, and which has led to some of the abuse that we've been talking about. Now, there's a public forum today by the Media Foundation for West Africa on the topic Media Hate Speech and the Democratic Consolidation in Ghana. The Executive Secretary of the Media Commission, Mrs. Sapon, says any communication that has the potential to throw society into chaos ought to be brought under regulation.
So whilst within the broad framework, all of us tend to understand that there is something called hate speech that is bad, we tend to think of it in terms of when it is hate against us. But when it is hate against others, it gets normalized. And that is where the challenge about framing regulatory response emerges. My view is that if we construct these as the normative reasons why we created the freedom, then any kind of communication that has the potential to throw society into chaos, that does not contribute to society's social, political, aesthetic, values, ought to be brought under regulation.
Well, the chairperson of the National Peace Council was also at that forum, Reverend Dr. Enes Edujemfi, and he says citizens should not misinterpret freedom of speech as the right to speak without accountability.
The 2020 Black Lives Matter protests in the US and the Arab Spring Revolution in 2021 are examples of the formidable role of social media platforms in the fight for fundamental human rights and freedoms of expression. The freedom of expression or speech does not, however, give the citizenry of any country the right to either speak or publish without required responsibility.
Meanwhile, the president of the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs, Nene Sakite II, has called for implementation of regulations that clearly define the legitimate boundaries of free speech.
As far as social media is concerned, we must hold internet companies responsible for moderating and removing content considered to be against the laws of Ghana. Whilst we are at it, I urge legislators to consider what kinds of speech is protected and where the limits are.
Well, that's Nene Sakite there, heads the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs at that particular forum. And that forum is available on all our social media platforms.
And you're still live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. MFR inflation is inching up again. You know, after several months, it started dwindling and going back down. There was expectation that it will even go down even further. But guess what? There are some very interesting items in that food basket that is contributing to the rise of inflation. Do you like dog meat?
No.
What about Joseph?
But because we buy
what about Joseph?
Joseph, no. I've never eaten
but you
it
come
before.
from the place where Joseph is the
Which
delicacy.
place?
Oh, well,
Which
you know what
place?
I mean. By the way, so yes, it used to be 41.2% in April. Now it's gone up slightly to 42.2% in May 2023. Now, although it is a headline rate, remains below 50%. Items such as, MFS favorite, dog meat, palm wine, smoked herrings.
Palm wine, yes.
Yes, you like palm wine, I know. Yes,
palm wine,
so you're
yes, but not dog meat.
so you've been buying it pretty expensive. Baby food, you know.
And amane. I'm told amane is also part.
Amane, yes. And guess what? They are way above the 42.2% rate that we are talking about, headline inflation. They are above 70%. So
and sanitary parts too.
And sanitary parts, another big one. And last week we talked about the protest about the cost of sanitary parts. You can hear from the government statistician, Professor Kwabena Enin, as he announced the rate for May 2023.
For the month of May 2023, rate of inflation stood at 42.2%, indicating a 1.0 upward increase in the rate of inflation between April 2023 and May 2023. In April 2023, the rate of inflation from January followed a consistent decline up to 41.2%, and this decline was reversed, that is, the slowdown inflation was reversed in the month of May 2023 with an upward increase from 41.2% to 42.2%. From a regional perspective, the Western North region recorded the highest rate of inflation, 62.2%, and the Ashanti region recorded the lowest rate of inflation of 31.0%, indicating about twice the difference between the region that recorded the highest rate, Western North region, and the region that recorded the lowest rate, Ashanti region. From a food and non-food perspective, we have for the first time in several months recorded a very high variation between food and non-food inflation, with food inflation standing at 51.8% for the month of May 2023, non-food inflation 34.6% for the month of May 2023. We see an upward increase in food inflation from 48.7% that was recorded in April 2023 to 51.8% for May 2023. Contrary to that, we see a decline in non-food inflation. In April 2023, non-food inflation stood at 35.4%, and this has aimed up by 0.8 percentage points in May 2023.
But should we be worried as the upward trend may have consequences for the economy? Yes, the government statistician again.
Outlook of the economy is always important to be looked at from a two-box point of view. That has been my argument. Anytime somebody looks at the economy from a single macroeconomic perspective, you'll be biasing your conclusions. So inflation is one of the numerous several macroeconomic indicators that we can think about. Inflation is independent of other macroeconomic variables, and inflation is also a driver of other macroeconomic variables. So if since January till April we've seen a decline, and now we are seeing a reverse, it is very early day to say that the 1.0 increase that we are seeing for May 2023 is putting the economy in a bad position. For all we know, this is going to drive other macroeconomic factors to propel the economy back, of which it will further slow down the inflationary rate. And this is what we expect academics to do. Bring all these macroeconomic variables together, and then we can get a better understanding of what the economy is. Let us avoid using a single macroeconomic indicator to judge the economy, not even the GDP.
That's Professor Samuel Koblenim, is the government statistician. We go over the phone line now, and let's bring in the head of price statistics at the Ghana Statistical Service, John Foster Ajaho. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsnight. So let's just cut to the chase. Dog meat, palm wine, sanitary pad, new items in the top 20 products for further policy consideration. Tell us a bit more about it. The dog meat in particular, is it the entire country or a particular area?
Okay, so good evening to our cherished listeners. Dog meat, if you look into the data carefully, you realize that it's mostly consumed in, I think, about 4 regions of the country, mostly northern region, northeast, upper east region, and I think part of upper west.
Interesting, but I see palm wine, also there, sanitary pads, baby foods, and even amani herrings. What really is happening there?
Okay, so what we are basically drawing attention to is the fact that we say that these items have recorded price changes which are above the national average, and that's rightly pointed out. Some in the past did not feature in the top 20, but now they have come. So it means that the price jump in those items now is quite significant, and that's how come they are featuring the top 20. So it means either they are becoming relatively scarce, either supply is low, or now other inputs are also affecting the pricing of those items, and for which case their price change is that significant this month.
If I'm not mistaken, I may be hearing the barking of dog in the background.
In fact, I just passed by the road to make the call, and this bad dog, maybe hearing me mention to say he's barking. Yes, you're right.
They know their names, so yeah, once you mention it, they're possibly watching out, maybe they become a delicacy on somebody's table overnight, so they are protesting already. They are protesting already before that happens. But that is very curious, the two explanations you gave, that dog meat and palm wine, the prices have gone up possibly because they've become scarce. But if they become scarce and people still chasing it and there's a lot of demand for it, then that will push the prices up, correct? So
yes,
that could possibly mean that people, the consumption rate has gone up, which is very interesting. Palm wine. As for the pod,
the sanitary pads,
pads and baby food, you expect that to happen. But it's strange when you're talking about dog food,
dog meat and palm wine.
And palm wine.
And ice cream as well.
And ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in times like this when the economy is hard, it's become quite a sought after product.
It may necessarily be the case that, for example, as you mentioned ice cream, that maybe demand per se might have gone up. It could also mean that, as I said, maybe the input costs, for instance, if the utilities have gone up, probably those are the things that are going to the production of, let's say, ice cream. If their inputs are probably things that they import from somewhere, and maybe when the last time they went, prices have gone up, then it goes affect. So all these factors could come to play, either the demand and then the fact that maybe the input costs, have gone up, and for which case they have also increased their prices. Luckily, we cannot talk about transport because now transport are relatively stable and better.
So 42.2%, that's how we ended the month of May. Is it an end to the previous free fall, you'd say? Because it was 41, now we're at 42.2. Can we tell if this will be an end to the previous free fall?
In fact, from where I see it, I would say it is early days yet. Normally we want to see about 2 or 3 months, trend to jump to that conclusion. Remember in the past when the people were asking, have you picked? We're cautious to say that probably this could be as a result of some policy effects. There were introduction of some taxes, I think the month of May. And so we want to observe what next month will be before we could say, oh no, maybe the downward trend that we were enjoying probably has been reversed. So I think for now it will be too early to use just 1 month occurrence to say, no, we are now 10 round and we are going out.
But briefly, though, we know that the month-on-month rate has been on an upward trajectory as well for 3 consecutive months. Will this have any influence on subsequent rates, you'd say?
To a very large extent, I would say no. No, in the sense that, if for example, for whatever reason, market sellers have decided to increase their price, and they have done that in the month of May. All things being equal, we don't expect them to also come back again without any policy change, without any shock to the economy to say, in the month of June again, I'm increasing. So on that score, I would say, no, I don't expect this high increase in month on month to have any effect again on next month's price.
Mr. Ajao, we are grateful for your time. He's head of price statistics at the Ghana Statistical Service.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
And therefore, we can go to one of the regions where he talks about as one of the regions that may be accounting
out of the four.
Out of the four. Which region is this?
Upper East region. And Albert Story is there for us. I'm told it's the biggest dog meat market in the country. Really, if you want it, the best form, that's where you have to go. Albert, you've been trying to visit the market. I'm told that because of anthrax, there's a problem. Talk to us about it.
Yes, remember. So, because of the ban on the sale of meat in the region, we haven't been able to see joints where meat is usually sold to be able to speak to the patrons. So, that's it about the anthrax.
But really, tell us about this dog meat market, because we are told that Upper East, you get the best form. I'm sure you've been finding out more. What was the situation?
Well, so what happens is that already dog meat is not normally very common under normal circumstances because not everybody eats it. So because of that, you would have very few places where it is sold. So that creates a situation where there is already a high demand. Now, with everything and all the prices increasing over the last year or so, that also has translated into the increase in the price of dog meat, just like other, forms of meat as well. So that's what I can say about it. You get the sense that people who go to bring the dogs to kill and sell naturally just translate the cost of every other thing that they buy onto the meat that they sell in order to be able to break even.
I'm curious, Albert. I don't know if you're a lover of dog meat yourself, but how much relatively does it go for?
So normally they would cut a chunk, let's just say something like your fist, for about 30, 40 cedis, depending on where you are buying it from. It could be more expensive. Sometimes there are people who are known to be very good in terms of preparing it, so they would naturally sell it at a higher price than other people. But yes, 20, 30, 40, 50 cedis upwards, sometimes even 100, depending on the quantity that you want.
Wow. And this is fresh dog meat, right? Or prepared?
Normally it's sold like kebab. It's not, they don't normally use it to make food. So it is sold like kebab. So you buy and then they cut it and, prepare it for you.
Well, but you seem to know a lot about it. Are you a lover of dog meat yourself?
I try it once, once in a while, but I wouldn't say I'm a lover.
Okay, maybe for those of us who haven't eaten it before, maybe knowingly, how does it taste like, you can say?
Very similar to pork, except that it doesn't have much fat like you would find in pork.
Wow.
And it smells a little different, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Alvis. Sorry for the dog meat lessons. But remember this.
Dagatis and Frafres are playmates. And Honorable Adongo and my friends will admit that the dog is a delicacy. And it's such a huge delicacy in Korea, in China, and it's an exportable product. Let's put all jokes aside. It's an exportable product. And I have lived in Bolga for so many years, and I know that there are dog hunters in Bolga who go around buying dogs and hunting for dogs. And it's a big delicacy, just like we could have a cat factory in the Volta region.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs?
Yeah, if you let your dog out somewhere in Bolga, you and finding that dog, it is going to end up on someone's plate. But it is interesting. I mean, never did I ever imagine that we'll be talking about inflation.
And dog meat will
dog
appear.
Meat will feature as one of the inflationary items there on the list. Top what? Top 10?
20.
Top 20 in the list there. And George Rafa is here. George, surprised by the inflation rate as it's been reported is inching up again. It had been on a consistent decline, but it's going up. Dog meat is contributing to it.
And it's important that if you look at the numbers, food was a major contributor to that reversal that we've seen. And we'll be having more analysis in this bulletin.
Do you like dog meat? Have you had it before?
I don't like dog meat. I don't know whether I've eaten some since I'm a lover of kebab.
That's the thing in Ghana. You can never tell if you've had it before.
And they say it tastes like goat
pork.
or
No,
pork.
it says pork.
It says pork. Less fatty, so I think that and smells different.
And I like pork too. So you never know whether you've taken some before or even snake and all the rest.
But I have had snake. I've had python meat.
That's a chance, yeah.
You had it too?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. You couldn't stomach it. Yes, but that was fantastic. MFA Pao is refusing to disclose her love for
cats.
Joseph.
Oh no, I've never tasted it.
Never?
If your body, if your body doesn't react to some of these things. I remember I was once in Iran and I took some fish and I had rashes all over me. So if you are not allergic to some of these things, you will never know. You know.
Okay. George, we'll share with you your thoughts on WhatsApp on the rate of inflation tonight and what is contributing to the rise in inflation. I mean, marginal rise in inflation figures. But, George,
but we know that food is a major, it's a major thing. So if certain things are done about it, and also import inflation as well, it means that the city's depreciation was a major factor because if we are spending more cities to bring in the same quantity of goods that we need, food and all the rest, it means that could also be a major reason why we saw. So now that the city is fairly stable, maybe we could be assured that things could be going down. We'll get you more also from industries that are also hopeful that the current stability could help reverse the sorry state of manufacturing firms in the country. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
Wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled, hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
Media Sambisanda Moa. It's your Ratiano, Moo, and Panet, Vietnam, Podompe, Maniacono. Eh, Quabna. No, Moo wants me to be just my remembering that day. Eh, am. And crow, complete me number don't be sense or you super accident ever. I didn't buy the braye. Who see it in a mobile? Some man are holding it. Sir, I need na could you soon use super accident chaco. Then dear a mouse and we could fit that. No, what you are sleeping, my mother feel you. Hey, could you, sir? Yeah. Pepsodent ever and a Pepsodent chaco. A baby, you're gonna natural.
FTIJ Trading Katuya too.
Shit, wahala no get breaks so.
What is it?
Some customers have left. Their mobile money payment didn't come.
What? Avoid such payment issues with BluePay. BluePay lets you easily receive payments on your mobile device with no e-levy charges. Simply enter your customer's number and the amount to be paid on your BluePay app. The customer will receive the BluePay prompt to confirm with their PIN instantly. Customers can also pay with bank cards using the BluePay POS device. Call or WhatsApp 054-7220-200 or visit bluepay.com.gh to register and get BluePay for your business today. BluePay, never miss a sale.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, significant increase in food prices reversed the 4-month decline in inflation rate from January to April this year. It pushed the rate for May to 42.2%. But what were the drivers? There is more in this report.
The Ghana Statistical Service data showed that food inflation, which was a major contributor, saw the highest increase over the past 17 months when it comes to calculating the general price levels for goods and services in the country. For instance, when you gauge food prices in the basket for measuring inflation from April to May 2023, it went up for more than 3%. This is also the highest increase over the past 1 month based on the data released by the Ghana Statistical Service. It also revealed that items imported, including food, had an inflation rate of 43.8%, while local inflation stood at 36.2%. This should mean that the general price levels of imported items increased at a higher rate over the past month. The developments can be linked to challenges with the Ghana cedi, which meant that consumers needed more local currency to bring in the same quantity of goods. Going through the report, it is clear that rising food prices was a major driver of the May inflation rate going up. Furnishing, household equipment, and housing recorded inflation higher than the national average. Water, electricity, and gas also witnessed significant increase higher than the national average.
And that was a business desk report. Now, the Ghana Statistical Service has been giving more details about what went to them reaching these new numbers for the month of May. Let's hear from Professor Samuel Kobneni.
If you really want to understand the drivers, it is important to have both the subgroups and the indirect factors. A typical example is that if shortage of food is causing high food prices, Ghana Statistical Service will not be privy to that information. What Ghana Statistical Service will be privy to is that food inflation is high, and the food inflation, as you rightly said, tea recorded the highest price change. But what led to tea having the highest price change will be determined by factors as: do we now have more demand for tea? Do we now have more supply for tea inputs? Which is information that when we are collecting prices, we are not privy to. And it's the main reason why we are bringing this conversation to a community like this, because we have all sector ministers like the Minister for Food and Agri to ask these questions, asking, is this as a result of food shortages or there's increase in demand and so on?
Professor Samuel Kobneni is government statistician speaking at the release of the Consumer Price Index in Kumasi today. Well, still on these numbers, Greater Accra region posted the highest level of inflation rate for the month of April in its new price variation report that was also launched today. It was followed by the Western North region. The report showed that these regions had multiple price hikes for various food items for the month of April. Now, industries are optimistic that the current economic stability being witnessed in the country will help reverse the sorry state of the manufacturing firms in the country. Industry has been hit by some challenges over the past 2 years, resulting in some shutdowns, while some are also laying off their workers. The Ghana Statistical Service data has been to show that contribution to the economy has witnessed some significant decline. Sechuma Kabwa is chief executive of the Association of Ghana Industries.
Private sector, there's no fees on anybody, except that private sector operates on a purely a principle of survival and sustainability, and then return on investment. And therefore, the stability we are experiencing continues. There will be no point in downsizing. If that doesn't continue, then for sure, for survival purposes and for sustainability of return on investment, you would have to downsize. At this moment, the companies are not making profit. I can tell you several companies that are making losses, and some of them are on the stock exchange. But if you are not making profit and you can sustain your operations, and for most companies, the last thing they want to do is to downsize, is to sack people.
Sir Chuma Kwabwa is Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. The President of the African Center for Economic Transformation, Dr. Kingsley Amoako, has called on government to manage its expenditure and debts properly to prevent the country from returning to the IMF in future to seek for a bailout. According to him, the country can do this by properly mobilizing revenue locally. He was speaking at the opening of the Made in Africa Leadership Conference.
We all say Ghana has been to the IMF 17 times. I'm glad that we have this program now in place. It's not been easy, so I think I'm happy. But the question is, what do we need to do so that 5 years down the line we don't do so again? That's the issue. And there are a lot of things that's coming. Our expenditure management, we need to raise more revenues, domestic resource mobilization. We need to manage our debt better. So all those issues, but I think it can be done.
President of the African Center for Economic Transformation, Dr. Kingsley Amoako. With artificial intelligence taking shape on the continent, corporate institutions are being urged to leverage on it to ensure productivity. Chief Executive for Web and Software, Philip Gatti, says that this can aid businesses to actually grow their enterprise. He spoke to Joy Business at the press briefing, assessing a strategy and impact of AI on corporate Ghana.
Companies must find an innovative way to be able to glean powerful insights from what is happening around them in their finance data, in their sales data. AI has the ability to predict what is going wrong so that you can create a fix. And also, the last area and most important area is evaluation.
And that is Philip Kami. He is actually the Chief Executive of IT software company, speaking at a press briefing assessing the impact of artificial intelligence on corporate Ghana. And that's all for business on Newsnight. And back to you, Emefa.
Thank you very much, George Riafe, and we'll try to taste the dog meat very soon. I've seen some of your comments that you've been posting also on our social media platforms, and we'll get through some of them shortly. But let me take you to the Ashanti region this evening, and in less than 48 hours, Pragya tricycle riders will be prohibited from plying the roads within the central business district of Kumasi and its surrounding environs. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has expressed concerns about the operations of these tricycles, which create congestion on the roads. Leadership of the Pragya Okada Riders Union, they are displeased with a ban on tricycles plying the business district, which takes effect on Friday, June 16. The union is calling for a review of the ban. Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong has more.
The high rates of unemployment in the country has driven a good number of young people in the Ashanti region to venture the tricycle Pragya riding business.
It is helping the customers. When you go to the market women now are a bit relieved, because at first the way the prices the taxi drivers do charge was killing them.
There are over 18,000 Pragya and Okada riders in the Ashanti region. A large number of the tricycle operations are concentrated in the central business district of Edum, Kejetia, Racecourse and Central Market. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is however concerned about the congestion caused by the high Pragya population. Leadership of the riders had a meeting with the KMA on the restriction of operations in the CBD. Al Asbat Sidi is PRO of the Pragya Okada Riders Union, Ashanti.
You can't drive the Adedita from Zongo Police Station up to Labour, and from Labour you can't ride on the the overhead to Edum. You can't go all that places. And if you drive to airport roundabout and you get to airport roundabout, it's either you take straight like going to Krofrum, or you turn back to Abu Abu, you can't drive to, how do you call it, May 5, Dichamsu Road, up to on the run, up to His Royal Majesty Otumfuo's palace in front of that place.
CD is worried about the impacts the ban will have on businesses.
Now Aija here, there is no market. Even if there is market in Aija, the woman at that market each and every morning has to go to the central market to go and buy tomatoes and pepper and bring it here so that people of this community will come and buy it here.
Well, let me thankfully bring in the Mayor of Kumasi, Mr. Samuel Pine, joining us via phone on this. We are grateful for your time. So we are counting down to Friday, June 16. But ahead of it, we've been hearing from the leadership of the Pragya Okada Riders Union. They are displeased with a ban, a complete ban on their trade in the Central Business District. I know they've been engaging with you. What really has become of that engagement?
Yeah, thank you very much, MFA. At times, I sit back and I look at why anything that will make the cities of Ghana clean, resilient, and attractive to people, we always need to resist that. We're not banning the usage of Pragya completely from the system. We are very much aware that it's the livelihoods of others, even though the inception of that system within the transport sector is another matter for discussion altogether. We met as an assembly, took a decision on this, and we decided to act. We therefore tasked the Transport Department of KMA, the KMA Subcommittee on Transport. We had discussions with MTTD and Ghana Road Safety Authority. We also had engagement with the leadership of the Pragya operators. So I'm surprised that they are telling a different story today. We gave them where they can operate to and where they cannot. Because in all honesty, when it gets to the Central Business District of Kumasi, how they operate and all that, I don't think it's the best of things to have these modern times. And therefore, we decided that from the 16th, we were going to start that exercise.
Okay, so for
we spoke with the Ghana Police Service through MTTD. We're using our city guards and other security affiliates of us, and that we are going to make sure we embark it to the fullest. But one thing is, I traveled out. I just got in today, and I've had information that they said they needed a little engagement with us, and therefore the convener for the transport committee, I believe, told them they are holding on. When I came and we sit and we discussed it, and we start the full operation of that. So we are going to use tomorrow and Friday to have that engagement, and we roll it out.
Well, so they are not supposed to operate within the Central Business District. So that's the strict orders that you're giving once this particular ban takes place. But where exactly then is demarcated for them to operate per the agreements that you had with your leadership?
But I'm currently in Accra. I don't have the list with me, but I know when you're coming from Tech, when you get to the Aragai Junction and beyond, that is from Aragai Junction right down to Amakum roundabout to the Central Business District. Then the Ahujo roundabout, then Santasi roundabout, through to Sofola area, to Abepo Junction, to Swami roundabout, and to the Krofrum, and then the path that goes through the Otumfuo street from the airport roundabout in Nigeria.
Okay. Well, we'll be following that closely then. We are grateful. That's the Mayor of Kumasi, Samuel Pine.
And last week we were celebrating Justice Jones Doche, who is a former member of the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court judge. In his valedictory speech, he actually talked about this challenge, the challenge of tricycles and the nuisance they cause in the city.
Now, we all know that the tricycles we find
in our cities and towns and villages have come to stay. But is there a licensing and insurance regime of these tricycles that have invaded our roads? Can they not be restricted to ply only access roads instead of the major roads? I heard a Greater Accra minister order somewhere 2 years ago that they should not ply on major roads, but it appears nobody has been listening to him. Urgent steps are needed to sanitize the regulatory and control mechanisms in respect of these tricycles before they go out of hand. Same regime as applied to the motor riders called Okada.
And that's retired Supreme Court Judge Justice Victor Jones Doche. And let's stay in the Ashanti region, shall we? Because as you know, the Swami Interchange project has stalled for a while. Traders encroaching on roads leading to that particular roundabout, the Swami roundabout, have been asked to vacate their spaces to make way for the construction of the fourth-tier Swami Interchange project. Prompted by the urgent calls to commence the long-awaited project, the Municipal Assembly emphasizes that the government is dedicated to fulfilling its promise and will not cause any delays. Nana Wache Yadom has the story.
President Akufo-Addo on October 18, 2022, cut short for construction works to begin on the Swami Interchange project. But the construction site soon turned into a hideout for hooligans after the runabout was cordoned. Residents for several months bemoaned the state of the Swami Interchange project site. After months of setbacks, contractors are on site to begin the project. Municipal Coordinating Director John Senyako says the government is fully committed to ensuring the completion of the project.
We are on course. The project has commenced. The contractor has moved to site. They are at the preliminary level, so they are clearing the sideways for the project to commence. So I can see that the much-awaited project is now commencing. Already it has delayed it's about 8 months since the president broke the ground. So no further delays. The contractor is on site and we really have to help him with this exercise for the work to move on.
According to Mr. Nyako, encroachers will be affected by the demolition exercise to pave the way for the project.
Now that the contractor is moving to site, everything is on course. What probably will delay the project is the demolition, and that is why we are appealing to people to live on their own accord. Otherwise, we normally see when persuasion fails, it is the force that must be applied. But we don't want to get there. We have engaged them. We have given them the platform to live on their own.
And then Bachi Adam filed that report. And you're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for sports. Ms. Bao.
Yes, Evans. Well, is the head coach of the Black Stars, Chris Eaton, who's been speaking, and he says that he cannot guarantee victory against Madagascar in the team's penultimate AFCON qualifier game on Sunday. The Black Stars are aware a win on Sunday guarantees qualification to the Cup of Nations to be staged in Ivory Coast early next year. And according to Houghton, they will give their all, but there is no assurance that Ghana will get all 3 points.
No, as regards getting a result in Madagascar, I can't promise anything. There isn't one coach that would sit here and promise that they would get a result in the next game. Not one. The only thing I can promise you is that we will have a team that will be determined to do that. We will have a coaching staff and a head coach that is determined to do that. We know the value of a win against Madagascar. We know what that means. But we also know that we can't take them for granted. And as regards to small and easy games, there are none. Because every country is trying to improve what they have. Every country, when you look at the individual players, are now playing in better leagues. So that means the challenge is bigger. But let's say what we can promise is that we will have a team that will give everything, to get the result that we want to get.
That's Chris Houghton, head coach of the senior national team, and the senior team will be expected to fly out of the country latest by Friday to the island nation of Madagascar. It's a place you should possibly visit sometime. Yeah.
We wish them all the best. And by the way, tonight we are talking football. We're talking football on PM Express, and you should tune in, because I've been fascinated by the league that just ended. And the outcome. Right, and for many people who were teasing us, folk, that they nearly were
12th,
relegated. So we're talking about the Ghana Premier League upset. The end of the Hearts and Kotoko dominance is a question, right? Because Hearts Kotoko was 4th. Hearts placed 12th, right? And so we need to look at that and what does it mean for Ghana football. But also we also want to gauge the Bring Back the Love campaign. Years down the line, where are we? Do we have increased numbers in the stadium, for example? We'll try and match that, and also assess the Black Stars. So the local league must help in the strengthening of our national teams.
Absolutely.
Have we seen that link? You know, so a lot of great insights there with some analysis also. You want to join us for that at 9 p.m.?
Definitely. You should join. So Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco supported us in this venture. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Well, let's do some of your messages before I take you quickly to Parliament. And Evans, this one from Starling Baba in Zwarungo. He says, Albert Sori has downplayed the consumption of dog meat in Upper East. In Upper East region, especially the Talensi district, when it is Dar Festival, the price of dog can be used to buy 2 goats. The price of the dog goes with the specific color you need. White, brown, and black colored dogs are very, very high. Those are those who prepare to sell the hitch leg, he says, of a dog is 130 Ghana cedis.
Wow.
The area you can get special dog meat in Boga are Custom Barrier, Zwarungo, Yekene, amongst others. So if you are in the
we should be visiting the dog market.
That's where you get. Now, Boatin says, dog meat to driving inflation, dear. We have to bring in more dog meat to drive down inflation. As was sanitary pass, the government has to remove taxes on them. This will reduce the prices in the market. I agree with you.
Dr. Clementa Park sent us one. He says, Evans, dog meat is consumed in every region. I am the global president of the Meat Eaters Association, and I can confirm. And he is the MP for Busa South, talking proudly about. And he sent me several articles.
Wow.
That his association have put out just to support this point. And I see one of them. He says, for what you've done, we will increase dog consumption this weekend.
Okay. We'll see about that. But whilst we talk about dog, the close season is almost here, and for the first time, Ghana will be implementing a joint close season with neighboring La Cote d'Ivoire as a measure to help build the country's depleting fish stocks. So 3 other countries, Togo, Benin, and Liberia, are expected to join Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire to implement the next close season. My colleague Richard Kojunya, the chief fisherman, has more in the following report.
The scientific working groups have recommended that the close season should be implemented between the months of July and September, which coincides with the spawning period of the fish stocks. This ensures that the fish spawns at least once in its lifetime before caught by the fishers.
Fisheries and Aquaculture Development Minister Mavis Hawakumson announcing this year's close season.
Canoe and inshore fishers will observe the close season from the 1st of July to 31st of July 2023. Industrial trawlers will also observe the close season from 1st July to 31st of August 2023. The tuna fleets also observe their close season 3 months in every year.
She says as a way of maximizing the effects of the close season, neighboring countries have agreed for a joint close season.
I am also happy to inform you that following consultations, Côte d'Ivoire will implement their 2023 close season within the same period as Ghana. This will reduce the likelihood of fishers from Ghana migrating to fish in a neighboring country. Next year, we expect Togo, Benin, and Liberia to join.
Maybe.
And that's Mavis Hawakumsin taking us out of here. Newsnight, and majority MPs on the Mines and Energy Committee says that take-or-pay power purchasing agreement signed by the S4 Mahama administration is tantamount to causing financial loss to the state. We'll bring you more on that subsequently.
And you can find details of this on
myjoyonline.com. The new myjoyonline.com. Fast and safe for your use as well. Please share your feedback with us. And it's time for Strong.
Hello.
Oh, wait and let's introduce you first.
Oh, I've introduced
myself.
myself.
I thought you guys were ladies.
I was enjoying the
dog
meat. The funniest was when you were interviewing the guy in the dog.
So I was just asking about. Please pay attention.
Yeah, the dogs are back. You are talking about us. We did.
Immediately had their, dog. Like,
but they say dogs only back at you if you eat dog meat.
What are you suggesting?
I don't know.
I dissociate myself from that.
So
comment.
do I completely.
Yeah,
I wasn't even here. I haven't been introduced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But tell me, what's up on
So, first of all, we want to apologize because we had advertised that we were going to have a show about plastic surgery. Unfortunately, just a few minutes ago, our guest had an emergency, so she's unable to join us. So we thought, you know what, it's Father's Day on Sunday. And we get criticized, like the world, for not celebrating fathers enough, and yet they play such a fundamental role in everything that we become. So we're going to talk about fathers. We're going to talk to our girls about the impact that their fathers have made on them, and also kind of bring into the forefront the importance of having a father now, so that the fathers know now what their lives will mean to their daughters when they're older or when they're not around anymore. So, Strong and Sassy coming up, celebrating fathers, sexy fathers.
We love fathers.
We like sexy fathers.
Like me.
Yeah, like Richard Mofe Damijo.
Hey.
Yeah.
RMD.
You don't know RMD?
Nigerian actor. Oh my dear, don't disgrace me.